anything happen? It's showing that the stream is going, but the preview's not showing. Test, test. Check, check. Can you check my channel, see if we're actually streaming now?
Let me look.
I don't know why this isn't showing a preview.
You're live. Working.
Great. Okay. Third time's the charm, I guess. So we're doing podcast again. Not about supernatural stuff. That would make a gaming podcast, because we always ended up talking about games. What were we talking about last time? Valheim or something?
Yeah, Valheim.
What do you...
We were talking about the okay, so for those of you who follow T2, you've probably seen the channel. He posted a video the other day on him showing off the bridge me and him built. How we spent hard work building it. And a lot of these other creators, they build these huge builds which look amazing, but they're just in creative mode, and they didn't put any effort into actually gathering any of the materials to build it. So T2 was saying that it really doesn't seem that impressive overall. It's just playing around with Legos.
We're also talking about like people who cheat, and what do they get out of it by not doing any effort? Like, what's the point?
Is it a societal problem where it's like maybe all these kids were the same kind of kids that would get participation trophies for not doing anything, and then now, when they're in the real world, they just expect to be rewarded for nothing all the time? And when they don't get that satisfaction, they like resort to cheating to get it. No.
It's almost like they view like try-hardiness as like a hardcore mode.
Yeah, I've seen that. They're like, oh, well, you're taking the game too seriously. Is what I hear.
Like they always want the option to just have everything just handed to you on a silver platter, even in life.
The same people. MMOs were like, oh, I pay my $15 a month. That means I should be able to have access to everything without putting in effort. You know, because people have different skill levels, right?
Yeah. There's younger kids maybe that aren't good enough to actually do stuff.
Yeah, maybe they're too young. Because you see a lot of games, like Rust, for instance.
Like Minecraft's a big game where they use creative mode.
Well,
that's a lot of big kids game. What do you call those kind of games? Sandboxes? Like Minecraft and Rust, Valheim?
I guess so. It's like a sandbox world because you only get so much.
But it's also a survival game.
Things and survival game. Like the difference, like the difficulty seems to be locked in Valheim, where in Minecraft it was like you could turn difficulty like all the way down to the point where monsters wouldn't even spawn. You'd have like nothing to fear and just run around and build stuff. There is an actual progression in Minecraft. You have to eventually go kill like 2 or 3 bosses, kind of like Valheim, but you can cheese them all because you can just build like easily build like a block-based prison around them, right? Where in Valheim you can only modify the terrain a little bit. You can't like.
That's kind of how you cheese Terraria too, right? You build a wall that something can't jump over. You just shoot it through the hole.
Yeah, make a bunch of ports to shoot it, or a lot of times in problem with some of these games is that you can modify the terrain to a point where it just cheeses the game. So Terraria kind of has that problem, or not Terraria. Valheim has that problem a little bit right now, where you can just, like when we're fighting the last boss, me and T2 just took a bunch of stones to the last boss arena, then built up like a little wall with the hoe, and it kind of worked. Like a boss got trapped on one corner and never left that spot, right? Kind of like made the boss fight kind of easy because he couldn't maneuver anymore and dodge our attacks. But at the same time, is that like for a long time you had talked about games that you would want, that in it you wanted terrain manipulation, right? And that's what Valheim kind of offers.
Yeah, what was that game that came out on Xbox a long time ago where you could raise the ground and make it like a strategic kind of a make cover for yourself or something? I bought it, but I never played it.
I don't know what it was like. A really niche, right? No one else really even reviewed that game, I don't think.
Also, speaking of Terraria, I saw somebody that was just doing a podcast and they had some gameplay going on in the background. It was like this don't know if it's a mod for Terraria. It looked just like Terraria, but it had like magic wands. And once they would find a new wand that was more powerful, they'd get rid of their old wand. And then they'd get like a max health increase. And it'd open up different passageways and tunnels and stuff.
When I was, it might just be a mod, but when I played with, I remember years ago we tried to meet Spam, tried to get you to play the Dark Souls mod, but it was too hard.
Yeah.
It was stuck on a certain difficulty. That one was, I was able to beat that mode, but I had to like essentially cheese the game. So I don't know.
You played a lot of survival games, right? Like you played 7 Days to Die, Reign of Kings. What else did you play?
I can just open my Steam laboratory here, library. Have a look. I tried them all. Like a lot of them are better now, from what I've heard, but a lot of them were like kind of shit. Well, so Dark Souls is kind of like a survival-ish game because it's a checkpoint based, and like, you know, if you die, you have there's a large space. It might take you 30-40 minutes to get back to if you die. So, but we both know that DayZ is, if you die, you go right back to the beach, unless you're in a modded server, and you got to start all over again. So we played, let's say, DayZ, 7 Days to Die. Fallout 76 is kind of like that, but it's like softcore survival, so it depends. I've beaten New Vegas's hardcore mode. Onward is a Outward. Outward is a game like that. Me and Fuzzle played that. It says Terraria, 7 Days to Die. Is a bit like that, but it uses the same engine that Valheim's using, same kind of terrain manipulation and stuff. However, I just put like 400 hours in that game, but I still feel like it's bad. It needs a lot more work before like the average person's gonna want to play it.
What's Terraria you said?
No, 7 Days to Die. It's like the zombies are always trying to kill you every single night, and it gets increasingly more and more. So if you don't immediately, like most people, they play a game and they don't really know what they're doing, right? And they play around and build something. The 7th day hits, huge zombie horde will show up, and it gets increasingly more difficult every 7th day. To the point where I couldn't even live on the surface anymore. I had to build a bunker inside of a mountain.
So you've got kind of like a timer, you know, you have to get so much done by the 7th day because you got shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah,
that's an interesting concept. Remember that game, Dead Rising? It's like you weren't expected to even get close to beating it, but like every time you died, you kept something, kept getting stronger progressively, and you get a little bit farther every time you died. I didn't really like that at all.
Was that the one you took pictures of zombies with or something? Dead Rising, or was
you're in a mall, I think. And
oh yeah, I'm thinking of that one. Yeah, there's all these objectives you had to take. You're like, you had to. A lot of these zombie kind of events were covered up by the media in the game, so you were essentially like undercover there for some reason. You had to take all these pictures and fight your way through the zombies.
What game was that? Sounds pretty neat.
That's one you were just talking about. Because there's multiple.
Dead Rising? I thought you had to like get these like anti-zombie medicines and bring them back to your people or something.
No, I'm thinking of the Capcom one. Is that Dead Rising? The one that they're in the mall, and there's a few other ones. There's a whole series of the one I'm thinking of.
Maybe I just never got to that part.
Yeah. I never really liked it that much. It has co-op mode, I think, but anyway, there's boss battles and stuff, and it's really kind of bullet spongy, I guess.
What about Reign of Kings?
Reign of Kings is a piece of shit. So remember Rogers was going on about that game like Forge, and a few other ones, like some Minecraft space
Starforge?
Starforge, I think it was. So, guys who made Reign of Kings also made Starforge, I think. Or not Starforge, maybe it is Starforge. Some sort of space exploration game.
Yeah.
And it was like a piece of shit. And there was like rampant hacking in Reign of Kings. But beyond that, they had like... It feels like one of those bait and switch games, like you have an asset flip or something like that. If you look at the reviews of Reign of Kings, it was like absolutely terrible. It had an interesting concept, you know, like if problem is like people like me and you have kind of like lost our faith in some of these games coming out because
Yeah, a lot of the games just have one kind of like a good idea, and then that's all they have. They don't like a good game from it. Like Reign of Kings was like one guy is the king of the whole server, right? You got to kind of try to take over and become the king of the server.
Yeah. Then the problem with that is that there was nothing stopping you from just building a big wall that blocked off the main bridge, and then no one could ever challenge the king because whoever was siding with the king, a lot of times the servers would always hit kind of an apex within the first week, where there was one clan who's established, and then they bullied the shit out of everyone else when they were like a really high level like dictatorial rule where they wouldn't even let anybody build, and like they cut all the trees down, and it just became like not fun for the people playing. It's like, okay.
That's the game y'all trolled Marquis Dragon on, though, right?
Yeah, we chased him down, and there was like, like it's a wooden handcuff, but it's on a stand. You kind of like,
Yeah. What do you call it? The stockades. Stockades.
Yeah, like a stockades thing. So it took some metal and some fine wood, but me and Showstopper went and gathered all these resources to build a stockade. Went and got like yak's fur to make a rope, and then we lassoed him and dragged him, hooked him up to this thing, and then it was kind of funny because your character was like really wonky movements. Like I think me and Showstopper's characters. This is the problem. Like the game has a good premise, but it doesn't execute them very well. So here's the issue: we made really, really short characters, like as short as you could. Our heads were like to the waistline of normal people, but then we made our arms as long as you could possibly go, which was like double our length of our bodies. So the reason for this is that when we used a two-handed sword, it was already really long. So we're hitting people, and they can't hit us because it's out of their reach already, because our arms are double their length. And we're so short that when people would go to attack us, they would just swing over our heads a lot of the time.
So I feel like I should be showing footage of Reign of Kings. People know what the fuck it is, but I don't know how to do that.
Maybe
without fucking up. Let me see if I can mess
people
with
could always just Google anything we talk about. But it was so clunky and the net code was shit. And then once people figured out that was the meta, then everybody was a super short midget with super long arms. You just like run around and dupe people. And now, a lot of people, the game has still got updates over time, but game. People play the games to beat them nowadays, right? It's the meta. Everyone like expires towards the meta. Once people figured out you could do that, like there was a few things we figured out. One of my friends, Buzzle, he threw a spear. You need like a javelin or a spear, and he threw it into the wall that was blocking the bridge. And we realized when it's stuck in there, it's a physical object that you can push up against. We made a staircase of spears, and then walked up the spears and jumped over the wall. But then once we were over there, it's like we can't destroy blocks because they're, like the king is unsiegeable currently or whatever. So under a normal circumstance.
Oh my god, look, this guy's skinny legs I just showed. He looks like the guy from 300 on the upper chest, but then he's like fat, but he has like skinniest legs.
So you can see how it could be quite janky. And then, so there were siege weapons like catapults and stuff and trebuchets, and we couldn't really do anything because the king or whoever was the king on the server at the time, they just built those on there and then just launched like siege equipment at anybody who disagrees with the king, and just obliterate your house from like anywhere on the map. So
this rope is like going through walls. It doesn't even seem like it makes sense.
Yeah, it was really broken. A lot of stuff is like there was some things where you kill werewolves and they drop like there was like special monsters that would drop different things. One was like you had a prison pouch, so like for Marquis Dragon and a few other places, like you could essentially put like a rock up his ass. That's what your third. You're like, if you don't have any inventory or space, you could put like a rock in your 0 slot, and it was the animation was your guy like putting something in and out of his ass. I don't know, like the issue with some of these games, it's like, okay, so you've seen some of the footage of maybe Asmongold. I was linking to you playing Mortal 2 online. I don't know what Mortal 1 online was like. Mortal 2 kind of looks like crap. Like the graphics are mediocre at best.
I think it looked pretty
And,
good.
like, they look good, I guess, if you turn them all the way up. But it has kind of the same issue. So when Asmongold was going through the the selection screen, you could choose from different races and like a dwarf race and some other stuff. You can change your height, your age, and all that stuff. But that affects your stats and your health.
Oh yeah.
So the problem with that is that people are just going to make what's best, right? You're just going to go with
So
like
then everybody's gonna look the same.
Everyone's going to look the same because you'll be at a disadvantage if you don't do that, right?
Yeah. Unless you're trying to do like a ranger, then you want to be skinny and have
Yeah, but
agility.
you assume that people who are going to come up with whatever the meta is or figure this shit out are going to have like, this is the best mage class, this is the best setup for a fighter and so forth. Now it seemed kind of interesting. Like Asmongold was hitting rocks and ore nodes with his sword. He was able to get it. Like he was damaging his sword, but you can essentially get resources with every tool instead of just an axe or just a pickaxe.
Yeah, it's not
But the
too smart.
the issue is that it looked like the combat is kind of wonky right now. It's got maybe you have to like hold down your mouse button and then swing with your mouse, like drag it across the screen.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, so
It's like
really
Mountain Blade. Is it kind of the same way?
mountain blade combat, and it's like you need a really big fucking mouse pad to be able to do that properly.
War of the Roses was a pretty good one. It was kind of like that, but nobody plays
Problem with
it.
this game is it's trying to be an MMO. So if I'm, you know what I mean? Like you start off with your fighting gear and boars like Valheim, and you're butchering them, and there's no tutorial right now. So if you go on YouTube, there's people who've like how to mine ore or how to butcher a pig, like very basic shit that the game should just have at least a basic tutorial on, but it's not. And there is not even a map. They're saying that they later on they want to come out with a cartographer skill, which is basically a map making skill. So I'm like, do I have to go and purchase a map as a physical item in my bag? Some other player explored, but it's only going to be as much as they've explored. You know what I mean?
Have I ever told you my One Piece game idea?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if I've told stream, but I've got this big idea. It's like the Third Strike game that I've talked about, but the One Piece one, based on the anime. Like the thing about the anime is you've got these devil fruits, and they're all in the world. It's kind of like you only have one of them in the whole server, the whole world. And if you find that one and you have a skill that nobody else has, that's what's cool about it. But the way the ocean works is like you got this calm belt. You got 4 different oceans. You got this belt of like where there's no wind and the water doesn't flow, so you kind of get stuck out there. So there's like ways you can kind of manipulate it. You can get pulled by something like a creature or whatever. But like you'd have to have somebody that's job is just watching like the air currents and the water currents and like navigating the boat. Like that would be their whole job. And then somebody else has to go out on the deck of your ship and they look at the coastline and they go back in and they use like an MS Paint kind of a program and they draw maps that they could tear into pieces maybe, and you have like certain people have certain pieces of the maps, you put them all together and you can see the whole map. But then it's only as good as the person who drew it, so it may not be completely accurate. So it's kind of like, you got these real jobs that people have to do. Like somebody goes up on the crow's nest and look like long distance. They can see if somebody's coming, and they can tell you which way to go if like somebody's chasing you and stuff. If you don't have anybody up there, you just don't know. And that's like, you have roles that you have to fulfill. So everybody has to work as a team on a pirate ship, and it makes it fucking awesome.
Like one game I really liked that was essentially like that. We played ArcheAge, for those who don't know. In that game, a lot of the stuff is produced by the players, and we have to like ferry it across the ocean to different traders, or some people figured out like different trade routes that weren't intended, like going through the mountains or something. So T2 and Rogers, they had all these cheese packs up in the mountains. We got them loaded up into their boat, and we took it across the ocean. And we were essentially what you were growing. That cheese was like up and fermenting and like
literally cheesing the game.
literally cheesing the game. How did it work? Because
The
it was
boats
like,
had a harpoon. They could like drag the boat up a mountain.
oh yeah, it was before the patch that made damage to the collision.
Like
damage.
this, a boat hitting the ground didn't really do that much damage. So you could
No,
climb
you
a
could just-
mountain with a
you could-
boat if you did it right.
So we'd climb up, that would load it up, and then I remember you put the cheese packs in a zone that was like right on the border of another zone, so it was really easy to kind of load.
Because you have to
them up.
make it in this one high level zone, and then you take it to like across
Oh
the
yeah,
ocean.
we had to climb up the mountain from the high level zone. There was like a
Because
certain
there's no way
path.
you could just like take it to the airship. They have to climb up this big tower. Everybody going into that zone is going to come by that tower and they're going to kill you and take your cheese. Like, why
Yeah,
wouldn't
it was
they?
a PvP zone. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the whole reason you climb the
That
mountain.
was the whole reason. And
Just
then,
to
so the
avoid
whole
people.
reason, yeah. So people that don't like, if you want to picture this zone in your mind, it was just kind of a barren wasteland with mountains, and there's lots of enemies and dragon skeleton bones everywhere. And we had a tractor at one point, and we'd get this shit up the mountain because you would pick them up as a physical item, and it would
It
slow you down.
Yeah.
And you'd either have to ride a donkey or a tractor or something.
If you played music, the donkey goes faster because he likes music. You have
Yeah, or
like
give him
a little cat.
There was a carrot as well. Little carrot.
Cat pet you could spawn every now and then, dance between the carrot and the cat, and like there's ways you can make him go faster.
Yeah. So there was that game. I liked it because it had trade routes and like there was actual PvP, so you could be robbed essentially, or have like be the robber in that situation.
But the ships, the merchant ship, go faster east to west because that's where the two landmasses are across from each other. But the attacking ships that you would try to kill a merchant ship, but they go faster north to south.
Yeah.
So you actually use a guy up in the crow's nest, and you could watch one guy's watching the map to see if anybody's like in pinging range. Because if you got one of those little scanner thingamajigs, you can see if a boat's nearby.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a good first step into getting good boat combat.
Yeah, and I remember there was like some of the like
Sea of
remember there
Thieves
was a
isn't really that
leviathan
good.
and like other sea monsters and stuff. T2, you did a lot of sunken treasure hunting. Basically.
Yeah.
What we made a lot of money off doing that. You found a statue piece, and I also found a statue piece one time.
Yeah, like
And for
gold is so rare in the game. Like getting those packs across the ocean, you only get like maybe 12 gold if you do it
or
right.
unless there's like, and it depends because if too many people, it actually had a stock market. So if too many people had brought in all these packs, then it'd drive the price down, and then it wouldn't be
Yeah.
like worth the price.
But if you
worth
take it to the
effort.
middle of the map, to the neutral pirate island, you can get way more money. But like you're way more likely to get ganked because everybody just
Oh yeah.
camped it. There's always somebody there.
Well, so for me, before I started playing with you, I was a pirate. I eventually got to that point. Like, it was quite easy. You had to just kill someone's like horse over and over. You kill people who run. You just have to kill people's horses. I found, and then you could get enough like pirate points or infamy, and then you get kicked out. And then when you were a pirate and you got killed in the ocean, you would always go back to the pirate spawn. You wouldn't go to jail normally. So as long as I didn't step foot on the main continent, I was fine. And when I would do this, I was an elf, and I was wearing cannoneer armor that I got from a dungeon. There was like an ocean dungeon. And we would go, elves swim faster. That's their special. So we'd all the pirates were all elves mostly. So we would always be able to outswim people in PvP. And our builds were made for like drowning people. So I had this Dahuda's bubble attack that like CC someone in a bubble. And if I did that underwater, they'd be trapped down there and then just drown. It was hilarious.
What was that one you had? It was like a big wave. It knocked somebody off.
Who
of a
does the
cliff.
wave? Whoosh, it was a big AoE knock 'em. And if you knock somebody, off of a boat, and they're swimming around and they're too slow, and then we're all just AoEing them from the boat. And so when I was wearing this cannoneer's outfit, I would do bonus damage to people's ships with my cannon. So we would always go after people who were trying to fish for tuna, swordfish with those fishing ships you've seen.
Oh man, almost stole one of those one time. I got
Yeah.
this guy unawares because I was always down there underwater. Like I would despawn my boat because it's easy to like summon it and like despawn it. So I would despawn it and I'd be under the water for like, I would have like a diver's helmet and fins so I could swim fast and I could stay under the water longer. I wasn't a pirate though, I was just a treasure hunter. So then I would see somebody on a fishing boat and I would sneak up quietly and like sneak up to the top of their boat and just take off. Like once you're on a boat, like driving it, you don't take that much damage, right? It just take you for like 1 damage or something.
Yeah, because you have a bonus for being on the wheel. They counted that in PvP and
So then I would try to drive them out of bounds so that their boat would despawn and they'd lose all their fish. And I almost
there's another way you could have done this too. So we would do the same thing. You was these potions that you could make really easily. There was so what I really liked about ArcheAge is most MMOs oceans are barren. They're just barren wastelands that have nothing. But ArcheAge, almost every part of the ocean had something down there, whether it be like ore nodes underwater that you had to swim down to. So it was and then sometimes people who were trying to make the journey, they would get into skirmishes with people, but pirates they wouldn't be able to get all of the resources, right? So for people who don't really understand, these ships carry these packs, but when the ship is destroyed, the packs will sink to the bottom of the ocean, and a lot of times it's too deep for the average person. So people like us would go to these different areas, and you'd see like, oh, I see like ship debris on the surface floating around, and I'd immediately like park my ship, get my diving gear on and everything, and I'd jump down there, and sure, it might be only a couple packs that you can load onto your boat or whatever, but that might be like 12, 24 gold or something for nothing, right? And it's just other people's misfortune.
I found a bunch of packs just in a bush one time and I was hiding from guys. I was in the other enemy territory. I was like, oh shit, free packs. I just ran them into the enemy town and like cashed them in real quick before anybody caught me. Made shit on money.
That was another thing I really liked about ArcheAge, was like I didn't particularly like the gearing system, or there wasn't really that many dungeons really, and they weren't very good. You know, they didn't have a good archetype, but they had really good overworld PvP. So there was an option in your options menu. It was like you had to go to a drop-down menu in your like privacy settings or whatever to make sure that you don't accidentally go through other people's portals. There's a lot of stuff that was left on by default. So one of the things as a mage I would do is I make a capital city portal to my capital city and essentially the Horde's continent, and then when I situate them next to, I could use Dahuta's Wave, which is a knockback, and push them into the portal that actually zone through and get spit out in the middle of like the Elven capital city, which immediately they would get attacked by guards and murdered, and it was hilarious. And that was my main reason of killing people. Like, they can't get back either a lot of the times because, mind you, I'm not on their continent. I'm just on the ocean. So you're sailing your ship, and then all of a sudden you get yeeted through a portal, and now you're dead on the other continent. Like you're not coming back. It's gonna be like another hour or something. So your ship wouldn't immediately despawn if you died. You had like 15 minutes. So what I would do is I would take the boat, their boat, usually it was a fishing boat or something, and if you broke it, so you didn't have to use cannon fire, I would slam it into like a landmass, like some jagged rocks or like a reef or something, like purposely beach it and destroy it. And then when it would break, the hull would open up and you get all these tuna fish. And the issue with that is you could only turn them in during a certain time period to like the island you were talking about, that center island, neutral one. But some of those tuna fish were like 100 gold if you got lucky. They were like top tier shit.
Plus you had custom sails, you had like the treasure hunting I would do, you'd find a shipwreck on the bottom of the ocean. It would have like up to 4 chests around it. And you have to like take these leather bags you have to craft and like float the chest to the top of the water, and then you could open it. And then you could potentially have like some really expensive stuff in there. If you get that,
the only problem with that sometimes
like 100 gold.
It would give away your position. So like, okay, so the middle of the ocean used to be nothing there. It was just like a boss. It was a like octopus boss or whatever. But now,
Kraken.
The newer updates, where the Kraken is now is all these like, you lose health when you go there, like your soul gets drained or something, and then there was all these like typhoons and whirlpools everywhere. And that was the worst place I could have possibly been. I was sailing around. I was having trouble like keeping my boat away from danger, and then I went down to the bottom, and that is when I found my statue piece. And so T2 and Rogers had to come get me, because the problem with this, it's interesting, but at the same time, it's bad. It's really bad if it's you. Is that it tells everybody on the server, like remember it was a message to everybody on the server.
It tells you where you were when you found it, but they don't know what direction you go in. They just know you're probably going to go to the closest turn in, so they can look between there and the turn in.
So I climbed up to the top of the mast on Rogers had a brigand ship or a brigard. It was like one of this medium-sized, bigger ships, and I climbed all the way to the top of the mast and like went into stealth mode. That was a stealthy wizard. And I just hid up there with this giant golden statue on my back. And it was crazy because we had to sail for like over an hour to get to port or something, right? And then you had to like avoid. And there's ghost ships out there and all sorts of danger.
Yeah, those big ships that you'd have like multiple balloons to float, and you had to have like a submarine to blast the sand out before you could even like put the balloons on it. Then you had to unload all those crates. Like break them open if you had the skill level to even break them open, and then put them on your ship. Try to turn all those in. Of course, you're going to.
That's what I actually want to talk about next, because the game was so in depth. We didn't bother with really doing raids and world bosses, because guilds were like, they wanted a lot of fucking people, and they wanted you to essentially slave for them. So we were like, fuck you. We'll go do ship stuff, and like we made a shitload of money because you needed like. A lot of the stuff I find in the chests went towards upgrade scrolls for people's ships. So there was like a big demand for it at the time. And G2 and Rogers would always do, like, they'd watch the market and, whatever it was, milk or cows or whatever that might have been at that time, right? Mm-hmm. And they made all these packs, they make all this money, and G2 and like Rogers and everyone else, we paid for this is why I hate people with pay-to-win bullshit. If me and T2 and Rogers, only like 3 of us, maybe in Skittles, right? And we got all of the coins for the plans. Then we got all the materials. We farmed everything. You got the Thunderstruck from like your own crops mostly. And then you had to make the submarine, and the submarine was a huge pain in the ass. I remember. Can you unravel like how much shit you had to do? I can't remember exactly.
Like, you'd have to have certain skills that one person couldn't max out. So you have to go to some guy and be like, hey, I need like a high-level alchemist to make this certain kind of jewel or potion or something that I needed to make it.
Or all these like oils and
clean some kind of metal or something like that. And then, like, if you're a pirate, how did you even get the Gilda stars to get the pattern? Because you have to do dailies, and you have to be like on land to do the dailies, right?
So usually the way it worked, because I didn't initially become a pirate. I kind of became a pirate because I got kicked out of my guild I was in, and then a lot of these other guilds, they have like I was saying, they want you to become like a slave and donate your guilda to like the guild. Then if you get kicked out, that's like you get nothing, right? So I didn't want to be a peon again. So when I read about this, people had told me that I would want to farm my guilda before I become a pirate, or else it becomes like more annoying. But there was the other way of getting gilda. Was there was like bottles that would wash up on the beach, because there was those little goblin guys who have the gilda quests. They were on the pirates island, and then we had an auction house there and a mail and all a bunch of other stuff. So it wasn't like completely disconnected from. The problem was we couldn't buy stuff from the main auction house. We could only buy auctions from other pirates. So it limited our scope on stuff. But this is how it went. Since there were so few of us, and most of us were people who didn't want to be part of these other guilds, we all worked together. So we formed a pirate guild called Outcry. And there was 400 pirates at one point in time, and we were coordinated. So then, like, we had a Discord essentially. And then it'd be like, hey, I found a boat here at these coordinates. And everyone would, like, raise the alarm, because you put a screenshot in. Hey, there's a ship cargo. It's going this way. Here, it's this coordinates. It's got a full cargo, and it's full of people and shit. So everyone would we had this is the other thing about ArcheAge was really nice. you could have houses on islands in the ocean. You could own property out there. So as pirates, we had already bought property out in the ocean. And then you'd use your hearthstone, which was set at someone's hearth in their house. And then that would allow us to all get from like the far north up is where the Isles of the Pirates were. So we could all hearth down south to somewhere near the equator and immediately spawn like our battleships and stuff and cut somebody off who didn't even know that they have like completely no idea that we're coming at all.
Yeah, like everybody's there at once because you all like planned the attack out.
Yeah. So the problem with doing that for long term, like 6 months, we'd kill the server. Like nobody wanted to risk putting all that effort in to run packs across the ocean because we would just show up and like.
So even as it was like a failed kind of ultimate, like people figured out a way to fuck it up. It was a good idea in theory, but they just didn't really like put a little extra effort into it to like prevent things like that or.
Yeah, that was I think the problem. You saw the issue with. Remember how there was a glitch with the cash shop chest? If you're all the slots in your inventory, maybe you weren't here for this, but I had experienced a lot of fuck ups from the devs where thunderstruck trees. You know how those work. For the audience, they were extremely rare tree that has any tree has a chance to become a thunderstruck tree. It's like lightning bolt strikes a tree. And then that was used as making like a battery for a lot of these different the trade ship needs several of them and whatever. And they were very rare. So people would plant trees everywhere in the public land or whatever. And sometimes I'd get really lucky because I'd be exploring. I'd like to go out in the boonies because there was all of this wilderness per se, right? And people would put farms out there. And one of the main reasons I became a pirate by accident because I got too much infamy from stealing other people's crops. So a guy reported me after I stole his like thunderstruck tree, because he planted like 20 cherry trees out in the wilderness, and I found that one of them had become a thunderstruck tree. So I cut it down, but I also cut all his cherry trees down and took all his cherries because that was the interesting thing. There was a whole system. There was court, so you could actually. I'm getting into too many things, but it was a good game on the surface, and it had a lot of different details. You take other players to court for stealing your stuff, and maybe if you were a pirate, people wouldn't want to help you make a summary, per se, right? So T2 stayed being relatively neutral, but we did have problems. The problem was, I think the issue was the PvP. Wasn't that kind of what killed it for you in the end?
Yeah, like some people just get so overpowered that they'll just one-shot you instantly, and there wasn't really like a battle between players. That was the problem with that game that was like mechs, but Diablo 2. What was that game?
Mech Warrior?
No,
something like that?
What the fuck? Man, that's an old school game. I can't remember that.
Well, I remember with us, we worked together, and I remember T2 had to wear certain kinds of armor sets just to get enough points to make certain items. So after got all these dyes and metals together and shit, he made the submarine. We went around, and the biggest issue was there was a guy, every time we'd find one of these sunken ships and float it to the surface and get it loaded onto our ships, a lot of the times before we were even able to get it back to port, we'd get harassed by, same group of dudes that always patrolled the same area, and they'd steal our hull. I remember we killed him once.
Our hull?
But remember hull. Depends how much we brought back, right?
Oh,
and
HAU.
we had all these. Yeah. So. But I do like that that's options there, because I'm complaining that we got raided, but at the same time, I was doing that to people when I was a pirate. So.
Oh, we should probably talk about that tranny chick.
Oh, yeah.
Because, as many problems as ArcheAge has, it's, one of the greatest games ever because of the stories, we're talking about right now. There's so many stories we had, like that and DayZ, Warcraft, Diablo. Those are, the only games that really, have stories that just last forever. Remember adventures with your friends and shit. But there was this chick that was, on the community forums or like a community manager or something like that.
Oh, I think it was like a whole social justice woke bullshit. And they were super into it, and they were like making these design decisions that were.
It was like
It felt like
it was like a
ruining the
man
game.
that was trying to become a woman. I don't know if you call that a trans man or trans woman. Her name was like Sephiroth or Sylvania or something like that.
Yeah, they had dyed hair. It was like neon colored or something.
Oh, I like that guy that was everybody was making fun of on Twitch. Remember that he thought he was a deer?
Oh, wait, I haven't heard
Maybe I'm
anything
getting those
from
two
him
confused because they were so similar.
So it was like one of these people that the issue with handling of ArcheAge. So it was originally like a video game that was over on the Korean, right? And they don't really have a problem with pay to win stuff, but over in the West, we don't really like that. Now, when I say pay to win, it wasn't just like skins. There's like for a while there was different gliders you could get, which were faster than like the best gliders in the game, which came from like world bosses and stuff. Then they eventually normalized all the gliders. But I don't see a point or a reason in that, because it's like now you've just invalidated, like, why would I go through the effort of killing the Kraken to get the Kraken glider if it's no better than any other glider? You know what I mean? So they keep making little decisions, because it used to be you could take the Kraken glider, and you could go to the highest mountain in the game and glide all the way over the entire ocean, the other continent.
Yeah, that's
But
bullshit.
that was a lot of investment to get that glider in the first place. You know, you had to have like an entire army of people. Like, this is why I remember ArcheAge as being one of the best kind of open world boss battles, because the bosses scaled how many people are there, but they're not so often like overpowered per se. Because I've killed world bosses with only like 12 people, while I had seen big Zerg guilds that have 300 people unable to kill a boss. So it's all like depends on your skill and if you're able to dodge its attacks and stuff, right?
Let's get off ArcheAge, so we've been talking about it too long.
Okay.
So games like that give you stories where you can keep talking about it. DayZ was one of those games, and let's talk about our theory about, like, whenever you have to fight a dragon, they always give you the tools to defeat the dragon in the dragon's lair. That was kind of like how we would take down people's DayZ bases. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys already seen my Chris Redfield videos.
There's some videos that you don't have on there. I don't know if it was ever recorded, but I remember them because it was fucking hilarious. Like, one I remember, it was this. Okay, so often we would play on servers which were essentially pay to win, because you'd give them like server like $50, and then they give you a bundle building pack full of stuff, right?
Or keys to your vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, if you lose your keys, where the rest of us who are just playing for free, if we lose our keys, well, tough luck, right? We just gotta, like... So a lot of the stuff is like... I don't know, it's like we got used to it. So it was like, it wasn't a big deal, but these people who would always take the short way out, it will be like, the world is ending if they couldn't get a key replaced or whatever. And so they always had bases which were like full of loot, but because they didn't have to go through the same turmoil that we did and experiences, they would leave, like, there was always some way to get into their base, because they didn't like think that anybody would be able to, like... So there was a guy who had a floating base one time that was over a pond in the mountains, and I went on foot and cut all the trees down, so there was enough clearance so that T2 could land on the roof with a helicopter. And then we spent like the next, couple hours, like, taking his base apart, because he had all the,
I remember exactly where that base was, because it was near
a few
castle.
Maybe. There was a few bases like that.
Man, we spent so much time looking at that map. Oh my god.
Flying around, looking for people's bases for hours.
The DayZ map's based on a real place in Belarus, so I kind of know my way around Russia a little bit. Just spending so much time on there.
And there's special areas that we would always know to check. For instance, I could go in the woods and know that, like, the current DayZ has wolves and shit in it, but the previous one didn't have wolves or bears. It was just like cows and mostly non-hostile stuff. So the only thing you had to worry about is people and zombies. But mostly zombies were like, you used to be able to just go into like a pine tree and like they couldn't hit you. It was like a under the pine needles was like protects you, and we could easily switch to like an axe. Once you go like me and T2 were pretty. Once you got a hunting knife, hatchet, even a shitty gun like Lee Enfield and matches, you were good. You can go off in the fucking woods. You can go kill pigs and eat them, and survive. But there were so many people who played that game were like newbies and also have like zero survival skill at all. Like they're not like they don't have like a where the rest of us would be sneaking around constantly. Like you would be crouch walking everywhere. I'd crouch walking. We're trying to like sneak around. And these dumbasses would just be running through the street at full blast, like running down the road, making shitloads of noise, aggroing all the zombies to us.
Remember, I was really good at looting stuff because I knew like what the most valuable stuff was and like what you could carry the most of, like based on how much it was worth. So I'd be able to like get the most expensive shit the fastest.
Yeah. So you like what I didn't realize.
And then you used your skill of autism to like just sit and grind on a door really long because it would take forever. You didn't give a fuck. You just beat on it with an axe if you had to.
It's funny because you say that because one of the traits of autism is we don't care about repetitive tasks, so they don't bother us. You could like that's why I'm able to do my job as like a janitor, is because it's not boring to me. It's like I just do it till I'm done, and I get like what's called like screwed up time dilation. So I could be doing a task and then not realize that 3 hours have passed. It feels like 15 minutes, because I'm just doing it for like. So he set me up to be unlocking a door or something, and I sat there like hitting a door for what was it? Or chainsaw. There's a lot of stuff we didn't know because we joined some servers.
Yeah, like if it has like a 3-code padlock, there's 1,000 options it could be. And it takes you like a couple seconds to try one option. So you do like 100, 101, 102, 103. You just hit the last number one and you click it. And then they kind of changed it where you'd have to wait 3 or 4 seconds between each one.
Which made everything take longer. But it was like, well, I got nothing else to do, right? So we did that on quite a few people's bases. And there was also a few times where we just... We really started cooking with gas once we got rich, because we got T2 kept finding people who were these are the people who would spend $50, which to me $50 is a lot of money. It just depends. I don't know about you. You're like we never spent any of that money because it was like, well, fuck it, I could just go steal someone's shit. Why would I bother spending money? And that's what ended up happening. We would steal money from these people who were because they spent money. They were not like as concerned with it. They would just leave their cars in the safe zone, which it says in the safe zone like anything left here after restart will be teleported to the junkyard. We camped the junkyard, and sometimes you would fuck with people and not let them leave the safe zone, like body block them with your vehicle. Hey, don't run me over, you're gonna get in trouble or something like that. And then they purposely log out there. And then you would have someone else like you would be waiting at the junkyard for them, because when the server starts, their car would respawn at the junkyard with unlocked, so T2 would just jump into it and like go back to the safe zone and sell all their shit. It's great.
Yeah, I've been actually thinking about using some of these tactics in real life because, like, I mushroom hunt in the spring, and the spots I found last year have been not producing any mushrooms, so I've got to find new spots. And there's this national park I go to that there's like always people there hunting mushrooms. So I'm like, why am I out here looking for a new spot like an idiot when I could just like look at these people and see where they go? And I'll figure out where their spots are, and I'll just go jack their shit when they're not there.
A lot of times when we play DayZ, it was essentially like that. We had what we call mules or donkeys, where people would purposely let them loot the entire city, and then as they're on their way out, we'd just be sitting on a tower with like a sniper rifle and just fucking kill them. And then one of our dudes would go down the ladder and like loot them. And it was way more efficient than having to loot it ourselves.
I just got the old red barn base playing on the video. Had some good memories of that base. Holy shit, we had it lit up like a Christmas tree. Then the fucking airplane strike started blowing up the building with the suicide bombers. People
were so that's what I loved about DayZ. It was, if you got shot several times, you're dead, more or less. It wasn't as extreme as the current standalone. Like there wasn't blood types in the DayZ mod, which I think is good. because I don't want to have to fumble around with, oh, look, I have all this blood, but none of it's the right type, so I can't take it. Like, I don't want to have it be that, really. Just blood bag ourselves, or blood bag our friends, and just be done with it, right?
Yeah.
And,
It's like when they had the briefcases of gold, and then they had like silver and all that kind of weird shit, and they had coins. You had to convert it and shit. Like, just leave it as briefcases of gold.
that's good enough. Yeah, it doesn't need to be a whole bunch. Like, the issues I've seen with some of the newer mods for standalone have been rubles. So it's all like Russian money, but then you have it broken down into bills, and there's like 20 different kinds of bills, and it's like, fuck, get converted. You can only. The issue is like the money. You have so much of it, it takes up so much inventory space.
Yeah,
Like,
it needs to though. The gold does. Like if you just have a number in your wallet, you need to be like a maximum amount of money you can carry. Because then you gotta like, if you want to buy something really expensive, you gotta maybe take 2 guys. Maybe you gotta load it into a car or something like that. You know, you gotta like think outside the box.
Something like that. The issue that I have now is the most DayZ servers that I've seen, the only ones that have people playing on them, are modded servers that have safe zones and like ATMs to hold your money, and then they have safes, and then the buildings usually take like C4 charges to get into, which are like expensive to make. So the problem with that, I just feel like these people have become like too afraid to lose things. It's like not the original population who liked DayZ, because original DayZ didn't have any of this base building stuff. And even later on, when we started getting Overpoch and Epoch and stuff, it was still like very basic shit, remember? It was just little square houses, like wood. Like,
Yeah.
generally for people who don't know, like, you wouldn't want to have a wood base in the long term, but it was like, it's better than nothing. Like, slap something down. So, if you go back to some T2's classic videos of him, like, that's T2 Stole Christmas, for instance.
That's what I've been watching.
And that one's good because those were bases I found most of the time. So I would go scouting. I wouldn't even fly. I'd just run around in the woods, and I'd go and I'd check areas because I had no problem with like checking areas.
Oh, let me pause for a second. Right now, I'm at the barn. Right, it has like these crates inside. It's part of the map, but then you can put crates that look like those crates on top of those crates, so it's kind of camouflaged. So people would hide stuff in those, and we knew better because we knew like. But the barn, how many crates are supposed to be in a barn?
We've been in the barn like we lived in there.
So what were you saying?
Well.
Oh man, I had hair back then. Holy shit.
Just gonna look at what you were in the barn here. So the game's not perfect, right? It was kind of like janky, where you could. Like at one point, I think you'll be climbing up like a ladder that goes through the floor. You'll phase through the floor when you're climbing up the ladder. A lot of people didn't realize there was like, so you put down a flag, and it prevents you from building, right? But anybody else could, if they had a toolbox, they could pull that flag up. So a lot of times we would try to hide the flag, or put like a safe on top of it. And still, we keep tapping people get the flag. Like, we had the Red Barn metal base at one point. T2 had put the flag inside of a room that had 2 doors on either side and then a safe in the middle, and it was like very elaborate. And still, these fuckers figured out how to get in there. I think it was because they suicide bombed like the. But this is how extreme it got. Like we had
that damn base that I put the flag on the back of the base. It was like in the open, but you'd have to swim and then like jump up on a thing. Like nobody would even think to do that.
Oh yeah, it was like you had to go through some bullshit to get in there. And part of the bridge, I remember, broke people's legs if they ran around in a certain spot. That was another thing. There was all this like invisible terrain, I guess, you couldn't see that would snap your leg a lot of times. Which sounds bad, and it was, but if you knew where it was, sometimes you'd be able to lure like people into areas like that, or like close a door in somebody's face who's trying to chase you and like snap his leg or something.
That was my first Diablo 2 PvP memory, was like closing a gate on somebody that was chasing me, and I shot him through the fence with an archer.
Yeah,
my first like PvP that of any game ever.
I think some of my favorite times in DayZ would probably have to be car hoarders, because we flew around that map. Like we snowballed, right? We found a helicopter, which then in turn allows us to scout like vast areas and then find all of these vehicles, and then took them back to base. And then we did after that we was Berezino Raceway. Now, for those who don't realize, there was like a full server, and we were just hauling ass, like slamming bumper to bumper, like around this, it's not really a racetrack, but we're driving around entire Berezino, which is a higher loot tier area that people don't spawn at usually. And so it was very risky. We could have very easily died and lost all our shit, but that was the fun part of it. It was the risk versus reward. And sometimes when we do this kind of shit, we'd run into other people who don't even like. It was just a happenstance they've come by. Like,
Did we ever make videos like in the really early days when they had the chopper crashes? Remember you used to be able to like tow a C-130 on the back of your car and like sell it for like 2 briefcases of gold?
Yeah, there was a few things. There was events in the early game, and then one of my favorite videos you had was when you stole that tank from that evil kid, and then we went around and blew up, like we sunk that tank. He was so fucking mad. He thought this young kid is like 12 years old and he's playing with his grandpa and his father, and they have a clan name of Evil, like very very original everyone. And so T2 dies, but then had come back in, and it was on a server where you could skydive and kind of like come back. He lands on top of this guy's tank and gets into the driver's seat because we had just sniped the previous guy. And then we're like one of those, if you can't have it, we can't have it, you can't have it scenarios.
Drove him into the ocean.
Just drove it right into the ocean, and the kid gets out, and we were like waiting for him on the beach and shooting.
Didn't we have like a little pond one time that we were trying to make a base that we could drive people's vehicles into that pond? It was just deep enough you could blow up a car.
Yeah, it was like we'd steal people's vehicles. Because a lot of them were on a server where they have the key, but then when the server would restart, the vehicle would automatically lock itself. So we would like, we can't have it. You can't have it. And,
that was the problem with that the APC. It had like amphibious wheels, so you couldn't drown it. So we had to like steal this guy's key. And I went to work, came back that night after they were all asleep, and I snuck into their base and drove it out of there.
You had the footage of that. It was like 6 in the morning. And you managed to just get it out of their gate. Like you had to wait for the waves to go and rock you in a certain way so you'd slip under their gate. That's really good.
We got paid real money for that extra key that we stole off of him because he still had a copy of it. So we had to take it to airbase and lock it up in a garage. We couldn't get to it.
And we then went the next day, once we got everybody on. It was a Showstopper, Fly Jump, Spam, me and you. We all loaded into that. It was Fuzzle there too. And that was one of the best moments, I think. Like I say that a lot, but there was a few weeks where we played on this Walking Dead server where everybody who was playing there, maybe because the zombies walked and they didn't chase you. So I mean like maybe we were running up against a bunch of people who were just bad at the game, like who couldn't survive on a regular server, because we just wrecked everybody there. Once we got that tank, we took it to the event areas. Nobody could hurt us. We ran over all the NPCs. There was a dude. Remember, there was a dudes in an event house. It was like a little like wooden cabin. We just like shot the outside of the wood cabin until it collapsed and it killed him. Like it just caved in on him.
Oh, it was a supermarket, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe a supermarket. And then there was a dudes in their truck. We got a video on that one.
Yeah.
There's dudes living out of a truck for a week. They were telling us.
Yeah, that was like all of the possessions they had in the whole world was that truck, and we blew it up.
We didn't even want the loot. We just fucking
they were noobs. They couldn't
up.
figure out how to build a house to hide their stuff in or a safe. It was like we didn't have to
were
put all our stuff
so
in this
mad.
truck, and it was all there. And you blew it up. There's so many memories of that game, man.
There's so many good memories, and people don't really realize it's like a lot of times we play on these servers and we make our own fun. There wasn't some sort of like special scripted event we were doing. We were just fucking run into other people, and sometimes you and Spam climbed up a radio tower and started sniping the front of some guy's base one time, and I went in there with a sledgehammer and destroyed all of his vehicles.
We were just distracting him, right?
Yeah, you were just distracting him, and then I climbed up on top of the building, and when I killed him, I was trying to be a hero, but I killed him, and he was already a hero, and it turned me to like pure bandit. And he left his safe open, and it was like a bunch of shit. And we got all like I brought it down to you guys. I eventually got killed by him, but it was still like I remember the admin was watching us. The admin talked to us later, and he was like giving us.
He was like, "Oh man, that was crazy what you guys did."
Yeah, it was great. We went back to that guy's house and like broke all his vehicles, and
I mean,
there was all these people who like they'd build these bases that were like okay, but they never expected anybody to ever raid them. You know, they were like surprised. They were like, "What? You spent 45 minutes like chainsawing my wall? Like why?"
it's games like DayZ. It's like it teaches you like we're making our own fun. We know what's good about it. We know what's fun about it. Like this is what makes us good at making games, coming up with game ideas. That's why we'd be good at it. Like I'm not the kind of person. If I'm playing a game, my objective is to definitively win and do the very best, and just to kill everybody and like be the best on the server. Like if I see a guy and I know I don't have a good shot at him, and there's like glass bottles near his head, I'm gonna shoot those glass bottles because I want him to have a good time. I want it to be exciting and hear like glass breaking as he's like scurrying around behind a counter and shit. I want like an action movie feeling.
Yeah.
And I want to give that to other people that are playing. I just want it to be fun, you know. I'm not so much worried about. I mean, I get annoyed if somebody kills me and I lose a bunch of shit and a lot of time and effort.
Like, I remember stuff that was one of our funnest moments was we all had the shitty weapons. We all Lee Enfields and like.
Plus, it made that crack above your head too. If they like, it would break the sound barrier and yeah, it was like scare the shit out of you. Somebody missed you.
We were in Electro and we were hunting people, and we only had like the shittiest farm equipment weapons. Like the Enfields were okay, but the iron sight, it looked like aiming down a brick, more or less, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like we were
like
fighting.
When I sniped those guys in the mouse with the M16 with no scope.
Yeah.
I just watched where the bullet impact would hit, and I would like slowly move that little brick. Sort of headshot him.
Well, I remember a few times we were in Namalsk, and this is like before they added all the new temperature shit. So it was like Namalsk, once you got to a certain point, it wasn't so bad, right? Like original Namalsk. Not like now where it's freezing to death all the fucking time. Namalsk was, I loved that map because there was like choke points, and you could always go to certain areas for like a shitload of PvP. So
Yeah.
Namalsk was a map
Land bridge.
where I was able to steal a APC from somebody. They tried to like kill me with it, and they dumped it into the water like we had tried, but they didn't realize it was amphibious. I got in the driver's seat and like spun the turret around and blew them the fuck up. Like, and then I took it to the airfield, picked you up, and we shot down like I think there was a plane or something we shot down, and we took it to the land bridge. But someone had took our wheel out, but we still had like ammunition for days. Just killed everybody who came across the land bridge.
Plus, your health system, like you get to stay alive even after you get shot. So it's like there's a way you can come back sometimes. Unlike ArcheAge, where you get one shot and you're dead and it's it. This is like you got 12,000 life. You got to bleed out slowly. Maybe you can get healed by a friend and carried off somewhere, and your leg bandaged, and you can walk temporarily.
Oh yeah, because we had some crazy moments. So like, how we originally met Showstopper and his friend Al Kinda was the like Griff crashed the helicopter that I had fallen. Like I found a helicopter and I flew it. I picked Griff up. I've got footage of this on my channel. And Storm was there. They had all like we had crashed, big explosion. Somehow me and him had survived, but we're knocked unconscious. And this is how you make your own fun, because we had nothing. There's no real objective in DayZ. There was just go explore the map. A lot of them we hadn't really explored the maps. We didn't know what was laying out there for us. Like we don't know what's that star is for. Neither did. But then we eventually figured out there was military tents, and when we would go there, we'd have so many skirmishes with people. So for those of you have not experienced nighttime, like this game tried to be realistic, where it would have like the stars in the sky.
Yeah.
Kind of use them
you
to
use
like,
the
but if
clouds to tell which way east was, because they would go east.
yeah, and then you were able to like track the sun.
Remember,
even if you didn't have
in the early days when they hadn't figured out like the right amount of day-night cycle, and it has like it'd be half the time you were playing, or maybe like if you played at night in real life, it was at night in the game. That was really bad.
Yeah, because
if you could only play at night, then you're only going to ever play at night in DayZ. And it would rain all the time, and the rain would just obscure your vision so bad at night. because you turn your alpha up so you could see anything, and then the rain alpha would be like super bright. So then you just my eyes, and then the zombies would attack, and like you couldn't hold a flashlight and a gun at the same time. So you'd either be able to see the zombies and die, or you'd be able to shoot into nothingness and die. Like you'd have to have one guy holding a flashlight on the zombie and one guy shooting it. Like you had to work as a team. It was so hard.
So this is why you had to work with a team, and like for instance, Northwest Airfield, or even higher up there than that, it felt like I was climbing a mountain the more inland I went, because the more inland, you more zombies, or more towns you'd come across. Well, some areas were just farmland, but other areas like my character's hungry, and I have to go like search this town. But sometimes, like, remember the different updates they had? Like zombies originally like really stupid, and you could just easily sneak around them. And then they tweaked them a little bit over time and made them more deadly.
Yeah.
But for instance, just for Storm didn't have any ammo, and we were up in Starry Spore, I think. And so I'm sneaking on my belly, and I can't see anything on my screen. I have my gamma turned up. It's raining, but it's like pitch black still. All I can kind of see is the outline of zombies in front of me. And so I'm just crawling on my belly, and Storm is using a thermal scope to see me, and he's telling me where the zombies are and where to go. And so I have to, like, I can't see anything, so I'm just like under his, I have to completely trust him. And eventually I was able to like get out of the zombie horde and sneak like up to where he was. So it was like almost like extreme. You don't want to die. A lot of people don't realize, like, they're like, okay, well if you die, just respawn. It might take me an hour of continuous running to get back to my body, you know, and like I might starve to death on the way back. It was like a new life was almost like a whole new journey. A lot of times you didn't know what the fuck you were gonna run into. Like, and sometimes stuff is so random because like I remember Spam the first car he found? There was a dude pulls up to a supermarket that Spam was in. Spam gets in, like, as soon as the guy runs around the corner, Spam bolts out of the door and jumps in the car and meets us up at, like, Green Mountain, right?
Talking about that yellow car?
Yeah, it was that shitty yellow car.
Man, yeah, that's the first vehicle in the
back.
game we ever found. That's long. You're, like, going way back.
Way back.
That
like
fucker was loud
days.
as shit. If we didn't have the sound figured out or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it had a rocket launcher in the back. I forgot about that. We didn't know what the rocket launcher did. Like we blew ourselves up or something, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was Green
I remember
Mountain Boys
later,
time.
like, we were in the mall and you'd found a rocket launcher and I was standing behind you and I didn't realize it had like a blowback that comes out the back of it and talks to me like
I saw a video of somebody doing that the other day. Like they were in a shooting range with a rocket launcher. Like a gun range.
Gun range for the rocket launcher. So like the thing with DayZ is it was based off a military sim, so it was like really, really realistic to not like a hyper degree that maybe Arma 3 is now, that DayZ Standalone's based off of. But the back then it was like, remember the boats sucked? Like we tried some of the maps that were just a fucking awful.
Yeah.
But like Taviana, we had a lot of fun. We built like the Bat Cave that I had found. It was like this one part of the terrain you could drive cars like under the map. There was like a space.
Oh yeah,
underneath.
that was great. We were like,
always hiding cars down there and stealing people's shit. And
but like I was talking about how it would give you ideas to create games. Like I had a whole DayZ mod I was working on for a while. It was like a capture the flag between Cherno and Electro, and like the Arma 2 engine had all this cool shit that DayZ wasn't really utilizing, like the colored flares and the colored smokes. Like if you made it like a paintball kind of a capture the flag mod with just like M16 ammo and like a lot of under barrel grenade launcher shit where you would give smoke grenades for your teammates and just try to capture the flag back and forth with motorcycles and stuff and turning light switches on and off, like illuminating the bases at night and helicopters flying around. I had like this whole NPC helicopter. I don't even know how I did it because I don't know how to code, but I figured it out back then because I was so into it. I had like roving NPC helicopters shining spotlights on the ground and like all these logs set up like a paintball arena. You'd have those little triangle things in paintball, you know? So like you'd have like under the bridge there's like this NPC camp of some dudes that you could maybe kill those guys and take some of their better weapons that have like this slightly better edge than everybody else had. It was elaborate. But I didn't know enough to like make the rules or make like the boundaries where you couldn't go outside the zone or something, and like you couldn't finish it. But it was pretty cool.
Like that reminds me of because we did dabble a little bit with the military sim, so we did join war servers that were like, and sometimes those are a little bit wonky because we'd just die immediately, didn't really know what the fuck was going on. But then finally, I remember one day we were playing with Spam, and we got in some sort of military vehicle, and we just like plowed through a barricade of the enemy vehicle and like ran a bunch of people over. And it was like
with the like anti-missile armor or something like that.
Oh yeah, something like that. It was one of those, one of those vehicles. But I remember me and Spam got banned from the server because we weren't like playing properly. Like you're supposed to breach with everybody and like use guns and whatever else. We're like, fuck that, and we just took the tank into their base and blew up like half of it up and ran them all over. Like chasing people down in the field with a armored Humvee and like running them over.
It's
just hilarious.
Rules followers.
Fuck your rules, motherfucker. I was do whatever to win, you know.
You got my stream playing, by the way?
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm going to show you this video talking about, you know, like my game idea. It kind of like has a lot of different kind of game ideas incorporated into it. These guys have come up with this game called Dreamworld. And it's like they're kind of like trying to do too many things. Like they hype it up too much. Like they're saying things it's going to have that's, you know, it's not going to have. And they say it's the last game you'll ever play.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Listen to this guy. Look how like excited he is and shit. And like trying to like, he knows he's only going to get one shot to like present this idea and like get crowdfunding for it.
Like I was,
Hello, and
for me, I was.
You're not listening.
To catch up. I'm waiting for your stream to catch up.
Okay. I might need to turn the audio up a bit because I'm barely hearing it. Okay, here we go.
Dreamworld is the massive.
Here we go. Wow, sell me.
Where millions of people can play, adventure, and create.
Doubt.
We want to create the world with the most freedom possible. If you see a tree and you want to cut it down, go cut it down. If you see dirt that needs digging, go dig that dirt. If you see a mountain that needs leveling, take that pickaxe and go level that mountain.
So is this all the gameplay footage they have? Like 1 minute of some random clips of a character moving around?
It's still a thing of bandits.
1 minute of a character moving around in a low quality game world and like moving dirt and chopping trees down. That's all they've got because they're just re-showing us clips right now.
He's so excited about chopping a tree down, leveling him up.
Jungle surrounding it that's dense enough to get lost in.
This looks like a fly-through of like an asset store pack, to be honest.
Waiting for your for stream catch up.
Every game, every style, all wrapped into one. But first,
Yeah.
He says it's every game, every style, all wrapped into one.
For $7,000, every genre, every style.
They're trying to make it with
all wrapped into one,
$7,000
every
budget
game.
too.
That's just such.
And now I'm
with
seeing
a Kickstarter,
it looks good.
you're advertising a
graphical
product,
wise, but
so I don't think you should be making claims like this game is gonna put you
He is
off
right, it
every
does
other
look like
game
an asset
ever
set
because it
store.
will be the best game ever while trying to raise money. It's gonna be every game ever made. Like it's just ridiculous as a concept.
on why Dreamworld and why now.
What does that
Okay.
mean, though?
March 2020, I was
Doesn't mean anything.
with my fiance in New York City, and we were in our first apartment and struggling to pursue our aspirations there together.
The struggle.
He just said that with such a happy face. We were in our apartment and we were struggling to pursue our aspirations together. Hey, what?
I was applying to at least 10 new jobs every
See, like
day.
that's
We were
Immortal
eating shoe
Online.
leather. It was horrible.
January, an incredible opportunity.
What we were talking about earlier, like if you see in the related, the Immortal Online,
17th,
like all these different MMOs, like
March 15th.
they need to focus on like one thing to be good at, and branch off from there with like updates instead of like, oh, we want to be like hyper realistic, but then you're, like, look at this guy. I don't even know if he's like taking what he's saying seriously. His face just looks like
He
he's
sounded like, we were so poor, we were just struggling to get by. But he's saying with such a happy face, and he's saying it like now all our problems, all our dreams have come true. Everything's solved with this game that we're going to make with $7,000. You're $7,000 from having everything fixed? Oh, let's play some more.
COVID hit New York City, and
Oh God.
I lost my job as a waiter. And
He was a
this
waiter?
opportunity rescinded their offer. And my fiance left me soon after.
Oh God.
I don't even remember this
I
part.
understand
First time I
like
watched.
the struggle. Life's. You can't really say anything here because it'll come off like insincere, I think. But fan of like.
I moved back in with my parents in California and began turning my life around.
Okay.
My best
I won't
friend
say that he's
gave
not
me,
putting effort into the
a
game.
one-on-one program
Like someone
that
actually had to go and like do all that stuff. But like it's this kind of the same thing with Legos, right? If you're a game designer and you're using pre-existing assets that are on like the Unity store or some shit, right? Or the 3D art store, and you're just
Not creating your own
putting it
stuff.
together. You're not really creating your own stuff. You're just playing with Legos and trying to sell it. Like someone else's work
I said,
prepackaged
you know,
to something
hey,
else,
why
right?
don't we just make
It's kind of the issue with Atlas, because
As you
like
do.
when Atlas
Yeah.
came out, it was like
Discord.
using the same engine as Arc, and it had like it looked okay, but it was like Arc
That's
without any
asset
dinos.
flip.
Yeah, it feels like an asset flip, you know. Like those fucking phone games that Rogers
Discord
plays.
channel.
It always feels like there's just a
And
bunch of
the first day
asset
we
flip.
had Minecraft,
microtransaction
Second
bullshit.
Life, and World of Warcraft players.
Like, if it's fun, fine, but
excited.
The
about
quality
the
of
idea
like
of what was to become
the world just seems.
this game
so
doesn't
weird.
look that good though. Look at it. Look at that screen.
Responsible.
Yeah, it
And
looks
we
pretty
worked
shit.
every waking hour.
He doesn't accept what the concept of it is. It's just like, you
Small
could do
white box
anything.
level to
Everything.
medium-sized island to a
Like
massive
look at how low quality the character is compared to
Christ.
the trailer that they were showing with the like run
Look,
through. and
all of these
everything.
things are pre-existing. It looks
And this,
awful.
just
What,
the
what
next
is this?
scene,
The
it just
dev
looks
room?
like
Oh.
two different games.
Anything
God.
you can imagine it. It's been an absolutely
It look. You know what it reminds me of?
Oh my god, let's listen to this part again.
It's just the next scene. It just looks like two different games.
He says, it's been an incredible wild ride.
Anything they could imagine it. It's been an absolutely incredible wild ride. Dreamworld is truly my dream come true. I'm so excited to be sharing it with you.
Yeah.
With your help. This is only
Oh my god.
Hi, I'm Garrison.
Welcome, Garrison. Welcome to the couch.
This other dude comes in, hi, I'm Garrison.
Come work on Dreamworld.
I don't have any other problems
Is he the
had.
world's most efficient fucking man? He was working at, what was it, Google, Amazon, and Facebook? Or Google, which three top tech firms was it?
Hi, I'm Garrison. I was working at Google, Facebook, and Apple, and
Google, Facebook, and Apple. So this guy's just quit three of the,
Sounds
highest paying,
depressed.
best tech
He's
jobs
like, I'm so excited,
in
guys.
the world of like the biggest tech firms to just pursue his goal making Dreamworld.
left to come work on Dreamworld.
I wonder if that
Zach
he was
has
working
always
all three
had
at the
this
same
idea
time.
of a single global game world, but the largest digital world.
You don't have enough
exists
wood, it
today
says, I need
only
2 more wood to build
thousands
this
of
masterpiece.
Then we came up with a solution that allows us to have millions. Dreamworld will be the largest multiplayer
Yeah.
game ever.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm sick of hearing this. I'm sick of hearing people say these just
Horrendous.
outlandish claims when asking for money. It's going to have every
What is this
game ever.
game
It's
called?
gonna be the best
Dreamworld?
game you've ever played. I'm just a savant.
It's gonna
who's
be
worked at
millions
all
of
these
people
great-
on
If you
one
have worked
server.
at those places, bro, congratulations. You're really good at your job. I bet you're awesome. I bet you really, really know what you're doing. But to claim you've solved the problem that no one else has been able to solve, and you're now struggling for funding to make an indie MMO
Oh man, Craft Chest's here. He should have come in when we're talking about ArcheAge. Could have contributed a lot. He was there for a lot of it.
RPG that's going to be the best game
I don't
ever
know.
made.
I'm
If you
watching this
solve-
and like the footage. It looks awful. Like look at this. This is why this is bad. Look at Valheim. They managed to somehow with low polygon graphics make that game still look good. And then look at this game.
But
a
Valheim
big
has a
green
purpose, like
tiger.
it's a game. This, they never even explain what the concept of the game is. Other than it's all games. And it's the last game you'll ever play.
Yeah, that why is it the last game? Is the game gonna give me a seizure and kill me or something? Give me a stroke at the end? Or I'll be so fed up like this is the worst video game I've ever played. I'm gonna quit playing all video games.
But then again, when I was coming up with my game idea for Third Strike, I started thinking of like ways you could incorporate a lot of different game modes into it, like having the underground be a first-person shooter because projectiles they're banned on the surface world because of that one faction that's like a neutral faction. They would come after you like police. You'd get a wanted level if you used your guns on the top, so it's like Grand Theft Auto also. But then you also got like the NPCs. Like if nobody was on the server at all playing it, you'd still have the NPCs trying to go out and like pull resources into their base. But then like the other NPCs would attack them and they'd end up like canceling each other out for the most part. That's why if you have like one person playing on the game, they could turn the tides because they have one extra guy like stopping them from doing something, and they could actually make progress. So it'd kind of be like a Dota type game. What do you call those? Battle arenas or whatever. There'd be like aspects of it. It kind of would be like all games.
Well,
Wow.
the problem with these guys, they're talking about like they're talking it too vaguely. It's like for me to get behind a project and give you money, I need to know what the fuck I'm getting myself into, other than just it's games, everything. I don't want another No Man's Sky where it takes them like 2 years to actually come up with a game that's slightly playable. You know.
I would like a game that's like you build things like robots or vehicles or something, and then you'd have recipes that are like droppable. Like the way you built it was better than the way somebody else built it. So if somebody destroys your robot's arm, they could drag the arm back to your base or their base, and they could like deconstruct it, and they could figure out what you
like,
needed.
Yeah, they cannibalize your parts. And
Reverse
then
engineer.
Reverse engineering, yeah. Reverse engineering.
So then,
Yeah, that seems like it might be doable.
something like Robot Arena, like when you make those battle bots. Like that's how that kind of works in real life. Like, oh, this vertical spinner is working really good, like Tombstone has, so I'm going to copy that, but I'm going to do this to it. I'm going to try to improve this part of it, and then like everything just gradually gets better and better. But then
Yeah,
I
like in
also like the
Valheim.
idea where you can combine things. Like in Voltron, you have 5 guys. One guy's the head, 2 of them are arms, 2 of them are legs. They all come together and they make a big robot. So that would be cool.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, for instance, let's say you first start out, you don't have anything, and like you reverse engineer. Eventually, you'll reverse engineer like everything. You know how to make it. So there's a break point there. But at the same time, like you're saying, maybe a schematic or like a combination. I feel like this is only like early game stuff. Like eventually, everyone's gonna get to a point where, you know, more or less everyone's knows how to craft the best shit. But that's the problem. How do you account for metaing? Because it seems like that's the kind of what everyone strives for, is like what's the meta, what's the most powerful, what's the best.
Yeah, I think about
People
this a lot.
generally don't play games like, okay, there's, not to be sexist, but there's many women that I know play games and then they're surprised that people are like don't want to play with them because they're terrible. There's also men like that as well.
They also like different kinds of games than we do.
Yeah, I mean,
Like Animal Crossing. What the fuck gives a fuck
I
about
guess not to
Animal-
name names. So we were playing a game recently, and then one of the people that we're playing with didn't want to participate in what we were doing at the time, and then complained later that we beat the game too quickly. So it's like, what do you want us to take 3 months to beat this game, or you wanted to beat it in like a week and a half? It's like having to.
She wanted to build the base, and then she didn't go on boss kills, so then she missed out on a lot of boss killing funds. Which
Yeah.
I was playing something else, so I missed out on it too. So then when Austin was burning me back through it, we offered to let her come along, but I guess she didn't want to do it. Or did we offer to let her come along?
Yeah, she wanted to. She didn't want to come do it because she felt like we were overpowered, and that she wanted to do it like when. But when is for a game like Valheim, for instance, when you're doing the content, I can't control if my skills level up faster than your skills. Like you want me to come back with for instance, the one thing that she didn't really understand was the first boss is like a deer boss, very easy to kill, right? I killed it with a naked with like fire arrows. Not even to say I was good. Like the fire arrows pretty much carried me, but it was like just stay at distance and shoot it with arrows, rinse, repeat. If you're unable to kill the first boss when the dragon essentially gives you all like the goodies, then like I don't know what you're expecting. The game is either is like what you would. I'm trying to like make sense of this. Like the viewers probably know what I'm talking about.
Did you try to kill the deer boss and failed or something?
Yeah, you couldn't even kill the deer boss by yourself.
Oh.
She
Well, I
had
never.
fire arrows and everything. So it was like, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
probably.
It was like, well, you don't want. Do you want me to hold your hand or protect you? Then don't complain. Then you don't show up when the boss battle. Because we fought a lot of these bosses with a group of us, but the bosses are harder when you have more people. So it balances it out, in my opinion. So it's like,
See, I think
Know what
I've
I mean?
already accounted for all these things in my game idea, the third straight game. Because, like, if you're a noob, like, if you die and you have to restart, then driving the vehicles is the thing that you're going to be good at because you don't need any skills for that. So they're going to, like, all you got to do is sit in the driver's seat and, like, pick where to go. You're not out there, like, controlling, like, shooting at missiles coming at you or, like, trying to keep somebody from jumping onto your vehicle and cutting the rope on your log or anything like that. You're just sitting in the driver's seat, which is still a really important job. Even if you're just a peon grunt level 1 no skill noob, anybody can do it.
yeah, I could see that. Like, remember when we were playing some of those other games that were, there was like, it was kind of seemed like an asset flip, kind of. Put a lot of effort into playing these. You drive like a vehicle made out of blocks around you, sometimes you'd shoot lasers. And then there was another one, but it got kind of pay to win. What was that other one called?
Robocraft was the first one.
Then the other one, but I remember you had your design, like I remember you had a very basic car. You had a turret at the top of like a post, and then no one could like kill you. And you were just driving around in circles, like shooting the shit out of everybody. And some people had extremely elaborate vehicles with like explosives on the end of their vehicle, so they would have like a stick or a spear,
Yeah, like
coming
a
off the end of
jousting car.
a jousting thing with like.
Did that in
You could
Gary's
tell
mod,
who
too?
had pay to win stuff and not, because it was like different available, stuff wasn't available. And me and you had killed, and me and Fledgem, we all worked as a team. We killed like a whole bunch of people that were like very clearly had dumped like a couple $100 into like trying to be overpowered, and they're getting killed by people that have like no weapons or anything. We just like a lot of people, you killed them by like flipping them upside down.
Oh, yeah.
So me and Fledgem, we built a vehicle that had a wedge at the front, and we like tag teamed people and like flipped them upside down. Like, you're fucked, motherfucker. It was like the most effective way with dealing with these fuckers.
What was
I
that
like that.
second game called? Kind of had a Vigilante 8 or Twisted Metal kind of feel to it.
Well, that's what I was talking about, I think. But there's all these kind of games that pop up. Like T2, we were playing Survival OI or OS or something the other day, and it was okay.
Yeah,
What?
Survivio.
Oh.
It's top-down PUBG.
Basically, yeah. There's like 4 times scopes you'd find, and it zooms out your like area. And would you get second? Was it last time?
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. We had some issues with it because it was like, because people could see you before you could see them. We're in a normal like PUBG gun. That's why me and T2 and like Showstopper and everyone, we were good at playing like PUBG games because we played DayZ. Where in DayZ you had no respawn. We had to be sneaking around and play like really efficiently.
The thing about this Survivio, it has the same graphics, I think, as that Prison Architect.
Yeah, it's very basic.
I
Very
like
sure
that,
we
though.
could like clicking off the edge of the screen by accident wasn't nothing good. Trying to shoot.
Seems like it'd be easy to make my game in some kind of top-down version of this. Just to kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I should look into this engine.
It seems like it's easy to use.
Yeah. But there's another game I wanted to talk about. Let me play you a clip of this. This is like Diablo 2, overhead ARPG, but cyberpunk. So let this catch up.
To all indents entering Cluster 13, behave, or I'll have you fucking recycled.
You have shown an aptitude for applying lethal solutions to conflicted situations. We wish to test your abilities by giving you a special assignment. Success, and you'll be given a chance at earning your freedom.
There's like a. If there's any audio, I don't hear anything.
No?
No, man. No, I do.
What the hell? Are you trying to kill me?
Yeah, so that's called The Ascent, coming this year. It's on Xbox and Steam, no PlayStation. That's interesting.
Seems interesting, but is it just like levels and you have to go in that direction? It doesn't look like open world or anything.
Yeah, it's a good idea though. If it has like a alien swarminess to it, that would be cool. Alien Swarm was fun, but it's not like these kind of ARPGs that you gotta be kind of like Path of Exile where you can kill like shit tons of mobs at the same time for it to be good, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's all about getting loot. It's just about hitting that part of your brain where you're like gambling, sort of. Game Interceptor says, have you looked at Last Epoch? Yeah. Is that the Asian-y one? A lot of these like ARPGs that you can tell they're not good.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Like, okay, so some of the MMOs that are coming out, it just like so many of them look. Okay, so that's what we were going to talk about. Lazy Peon came up with a video about MMOs, and so many of them just look. I'm like, why would you even put money? Who's going to buy this, or who's going to play this? Is this going to be like, for all the millions of dollars that you put into like making an MMO and everything? It just seems.
I like the character selection. It looks a lot like Diablo 2 though. It's right here. Click on a guy and he steps forward. I can back that up. Looks just like the Paladin in Diablo 2. But there's something about it that reminds me of. What's that game I played where I got that really awesome legendary weapon right off the start and I just like face rolled it? I won't be in this. What was that game I recently played? Void Knight? Force Guard? I mean, this looks alright, but it ain't gonna be no PoE killer.
No, I don't think so. Like, okay, so me and T2 played Vermintide recently. Vermintide 2, and it like overall had kind of good graphics, and it was hack and slash kind of fun. You know, but it looked like it was an asset flip when it came to like the inventory management. Pretty much exactly the same icons from Diablo 3. When it like for talismans and other shit like that, so it was kind of. There was legendaries and that shit too. So.
Yeah, Vermintide 2 is just like Vermintide 1.
Pretty much.
Not a bad thing, I guess, but I figured they could have had like orcs and stuff in it from the other Warhammer.
Yeah.
I'll just have rats. They got Chaos Knights, which is part of it.
It's like zombies, kind of, I guess. There's like, I know that like one of our friends had downloaded a bunch of the DLCs, and then he couldn't. Like the one thing we had issue with was I don't know if they have servers or if it's like peer-to-peer. Because some people I played with, the connection was like so bad, I just keep DCing, and then I was like I couldn't get all my shit done. It was fun kind of going through some of the maps initially, but later on we had people that were like, oh, we want to get all of the treasure and all. I'm like, you know, that's going to make this place take like 2 hours or something. I really don't want to be there now.
So, is there anything else you want to talk about on the podcast today? Because we covered survival, covered like game creation a little bit, stories from games that are just like awesome.
Okay, so we have a lot of really good stories about like DayZ, and we could probably go on forever about that. But I've generally tried to get T2 to play other games in the past. It's just that a lot of these other copycat games, like, okay, you played Myst Survival, right? And you liked that game. It was like a single-player DayZ. It was kind of like unfinished. Remember that play?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I played that too, and built a base, and when you're away, your base could get raided like by roaming packs. Of, you show back up and there's bandits there. That was kind of an interesting idea. But the problem was with that game is when it had some issues. Like,
bears were overpowered.
Bears were overpowered. A lot of the like zombies were really overpowered, so you end up just kind of like, I built in the top of one of those search towers and then go to sleep, and then like it would skip the nighttime, which kind of Myst zombies gonna go away.
What was that old game that was like gonna be like a survival horror kind of a game? Like there's these things on the tops of buildings that were like shadow creatures or something, and you couldn't see them some of the times or something. You had to stealth through it a lot, kind of like Stalker maybe, or
maybe wasn't there Stalker 2 or something? Like that was the issue with maybe Stalker. It was on par with like DayZ, where enemies were not gonna fuck around. They're gonna headshot you. You had to like pretty much do everything stealthy, or you'd not be able to beat the game. So what I was generally talking about is kind of going over some games. Like what would you like to see that's coming out? Like I've lost my faith, I think, in a lot of games. Like the most recent game that
my own game.
Yeah, it's one of the most games that I want to. Okay, so there's this Space Dwarf game that we played, and that was fun. I want something like that, but like MMO in a way.
Deep Rock Galactic.
Like Deep Rock Galactic, but maybe like an MMO where it's a dwarf, like Mines of Moria or some shit. I want to be mining underground, and like there's enemies down there underground, but it's not like you're not getting bombarded by shit like in Deep Rock. It's like an actual MMO in a way, where you start off on the surface, and then there's all this room to dig down. And when I say digging, I don't so mean like Minecraft in a way. Like maybe we actually have to put support pillars down there and shit, but you can get in areas where there's like huge caves where there. Because I really like. Well, I know it would take a lot of work. You would probably need the same kind of rules as like ArcheAge and stuff to get to that at some point, where people are going to be griefing each other or not doing what they're supposed to be doing or whatever the fuck. But like, whenever I watch, I see some of these amazing like dwarf cities from different MMOs, and I just feel like I wanted to utilize this and explore like these underground areas. And I guess what I'm saying is like I want like an MMO where the entire world, instead of being on the surface, is all like Hollow Earth theory and underground stuff. And the problem with a lot of games like this is everything could be like data mined. People are like, oh, well, Google or data mine like how to get all these items. So it kind of takes the mystery out of like what's at the center of the earth, or what's in this cave system or something.
Have you heard of this game, Cursed? CRSED. I guess it's Cuisine Royale. They just renamed it. But remember how Cuisine Royale was like a battle royale game?
Was it?
Wasn't
there a rip? There's a few of them that were like you're wearing pots and pans all over your body, and like.
I think this one had like little vending machines where you could get rewards out of it. Like you're in like a game show kind of a thing?
Wasn't there another game like that was...
This looks more like a survival crafting kind of a game, maybe. But maybe
Problem is, a lot of these games, they like... Maybe they get popular and then they get over their head, top of their head. They don't really know what they're...
Nah, I think it's just a battle royale game.
A lot of these games, they're like really shit. You know what I mean? They're like... Okay, so... What was it? What games have we played that have been kind of... Like, maybe they're better now, but they
I'll
all
tell you
seem
what-
to like...
Oh, gaming
copying
needs.
DayZ.
You know what the problem was with Crimecraft, right? You play Crimecraft with me? Or am I thinking
No,
something?
but I think I heard about what happened. It didn't implode eventually, like the devs fucked it up or something.
They changed the name of it or something, and then I don't know if like weren't enough people to keep it going, so they shut it down, and now you can't even play it. It's like one of the best third-person shooters I ever played. It wasn't that well made, but the concept was really good because you had the things you used to kind of make like builds, sort of like if you went stealthy, you could counter that with a smoke grenade, and that you could amplify with like damage over time. So if you're in the smoke, you get unstealthed. Or if you like sneak up and try to stab somebody, they might have like anti-stab armor that shocks you if you try to stab them. So it's a really good game, but nobody played it, so they shut her down. So I feel like the problem is that there's too many games that you can't get enough people to play the good games. So you kind of need like Netflix for games, because Netflix would always like promote like this top 10 shows that are on right now, and everybody would watch that show. If you had something for games like that. Yeah, the culling.
Yeah, the culling was like that. It wasn't then the culling 2, but then everybody hated the culling 2, and then everyone stopped playing. That's the other thing I see. Like games that have a shitload of work put in. Like remember when Just Cause 2 came out, and then eventually we modded it so we could play the multiplayer, and everyone played the multiplayer for like, I don't know, like a month and a half, and then it died out, and no one gave a
Not
shit
even.
anymore.
We didn't play it for a week probably.
Yeah, it was like really laggy, and it was...
It was fun, I
It-
guess, but like
it
once
was
you could
fun,
do
but it
everything,
was
it was
like-
like too much power. You spawn in
just-
a fucking jet, grab onto
We were
it.
like it was like they were trying to be Samp. They were trying to do what Samp did, right?
Yeah, Sam, we played forever.
Fucking played. Well, I wouldn't know. Like,
Remember that Monopoly mode? That Monopoly mode, though? Remember that Monopoly mode? Where you buy a casino and a bunch of chicken stands and you start making money as long as nobody else bought it?
yeah, you could make. I remember some of the funnest videos because we had all those people. And then, so I maybe, what was it talking about? Lazy Peon was talking about how the reason you could have like good moments in video games is not necessarily because the video game alone. It was like what was going on in your life at that time and who you're playing with and so forth. So that's why you have like rose tinted.
No, because we were
glasses.
playing with assholes back then, like Kekule and Stegs. We're still having
Oh.
fun.
You're still having fun. So it was the game, you know.
Yeah.
So
Cow named
it's
Cookies.
interesting.
Remember that guy? He's probably still watching right now.
Probably. Like one thing I remember were games.
And
for
we
instance,
called
you,
those
me,
random
Flyjum.
girls on Skype. We figured out some people. Like we looked. How did we even call them? We got some like random girls like come into our Skype. We started talking to them. While we're driving around like trying to knock each other off the top of a skyscraper in Ferraris.
Yeah, because we had all the giant like
Calling us
Hot
nerds and
Wheels
shit. I'm
loops
like,
and stuff.
yeah,
that
we're
were-
nerds. We're not gonna see you fuck you anyway. We don't know who you are.
I don't give a shit. That was kind of fun. That was some good times because it was like you could still die and you had to respawn, so there was a little bit of that, but it was just like silly, do whatever the fuck you want. It was kind of like what GTA Online was supposed to be, essentially.
Yeah.
So the problem with like, I think maybe you should maybe screw around with some sort of maybe the Unity engine or some sort of free game template and try to like come up with some basic shit to see how like you can get something going for your idea.
Have you
I
seen
just see
this
so many-
game called Snow Runner?
Is that what you just do is run on snow?
No,
Goat
you're
Simulator
like
or all these others.
you drive like a semi truck or a jeep or anything that can like pull other things, and it's like super slow. But
Oh,
it's like, oh, this guy's actually using a steering wheel and shit too.
an actual steering wheel.
Yeah, like you hook up to these trailers and you get in like mud and snow, and you gotta like try to get through rivers and up hills. It's like so slow though. I mean, Shawnee E would love the shit out of this game.
Probably. There's like all those people who play Euro Truck Simulator and they spent like there's like $5,000 in DLC you can buy for it. It's just more. It's like
Oh, you
streamers who play it.
You got
Just driving trucks around. Fucking boring.
you got hitches, tow hitches or whatever on the front of your truck that you can like shoot, I think, onto trees and like pull yourself up, or you can go and like rescue your friend that's stuck. If he's stuck.
How
in the mud.
realistic is? How expensive would a fucking controller? And look, he's got pedals and everything. Like usually you do this to play a racing game, not like people do this for a job. Fuck's sakes, in real life.
Well, there was a
Look at-
thing in
But look how tedious this is. Like when I would play DayZ, and we'd have a trailer or something. Half the problem was like, oh, I fucking got my fucking vehicle jackknifed or something. And I was stuck in the woods with it.
Craft Chest. What's that space game you're always playing with the voice activated commands?
Kerbal Space Program, that one.
No, the one that has like a free option. What is it called? He'll tell me in a second. But it has like, there was this group of people that were called the Fuel Rats, and they would not even try to like advance in the game. Their whole thing was like, you get stuck out in between star systems without fuel, they would go and like gas you up and help you out. And just a guild of like people trying to help each other, and they wouldn't even attack you if you attacked them.
What?
Yeah, I guess it's just like they're making their own fun.
Well, I guess so. Like
Kind of had their own rules that you had to follow.
when we made our own fun in a lot of games, what would we do? Like usually it was because we were bored. And we're like, it was like, let's go find some people to kill. It was usually the premise.
Well,
but then
it's
there wouldn't
like
be enough people to kill.
it's like trying to do a passive Skyrim run. Like I saw one today where a guy was doing Skyrim, but he wasn't allowed to walk.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. And he had to like.
He would do a
Punch
power
and-
attack and cancel. Power attack, cancel. And he would slowly. And then he got to like stealth rolling everywhere.
Yeah.
Because he got a dagger
Anyway.
and he learned stealth skill. I couldn't watch
was
that
really-
video. I was like, God damn, this is stupid.
Well, that guy's done a whole bunch of runs, and it's amazing because some of the stuff he does are like you would only ever use for a really niche run like that.
Oh my god, what is this?
Like remember when you did Beetle the Bard, right? I've seen that guy did a version of that, like pacifism run, how to beat the game without killing anything, and he actually did it really like you can't use followers because followers will like kill stuff and it'll count towards your kill.
There's a game called Ranch Simulator. You just like have a ranch. It's like farming simulator, I guess.
Or Harvest Moon or something.
There's a goat
People could just
simulator.
go
I mean, there's
outside and
gonna be
rake
every
leaves
kind of
if you wanna do
simulator in
that.
the world.
Well, it's kind of the thing is like people live in cities. I mean, they don't have access to a yard or something, but
Oh
Fine, like-
yeah, it would be like if you're like living in the city, you wanted to like play Stardew Valley or something all day and like bust rocks and build a garden. I can see
the
that.
garden probably. But like from a person like me who grew up on a farm, I don't really want to do that. It's like I did that all my childhood. I don't really want to spend the hours that I'm not working playing like
What do you do if you want
Cardboard
to simulate
simulator.
living in a city? Grand Theft
GTA.
Auto. Yeah.
I guess so.
Sim City.
Deal with
Sim.
Well, isn't-
just the Sims?
maybe. Isn't there a Sim City that you can design like? I don't know. I don't feel though. Maybe it's just like I never really cared for those kind of. Like I've always really liked exploring. So like any game where I could, like DayZ, like for instance, don't know what's out there. We join a new server, no idea where people's bases are. Half the fun for me was finding the bases to raid in the first place, like running around and looking for them. Like, what is this video? I'm watching this guy play Ranch Simulator, and he's like demolishing everything in one hit
Yeah.
with the crowbar. He's got like some shitty building that he's. Look how
So many
awful this
weird
game looks. Like his arms like stuck out with the crowbar. So many of these games, they're just like I was saying earlier, like half unfinished asset flips that.
What is this? Contraband police?
Marvel's Avengers, the beginning.
Papers, please. That was a game.
Oh yeah, it was. Rogers played that, and Flygen played that, and it was like, it was okay, but it's nothing like. Is that what we're running out of like ideas? Like, there's only so many. Like, games that are fun. Do they have to fit into like a certain algorithm for us to like them, or like it depends on the person, but like in the genre that you like and all these kind of things.
Oh man, what was that idea I had the other day? Ah, shit, it was like a spy game. Or was it a TV show? Oh man, that makes me mad. I can't think what it was. I should have wrote that down.
Like, I went back and played RuneScape recently, old school RuneScape, and I saw that like a game with not very good graphics and could still be fun. I saw that with Valheim. So why are so many of these games that have like bad graphics? I just don't want to play them. Is it because I can play these other games that have worse graphics? Just like I feel like some of these games that are indie games are just like, why would you use this art style to begin with? Like, it looks so awful. Like that game we started off with, the game that will be everything and that you'll love. It just, even I can take one look at this and go, that's a waste of my money. Like,
Let's deal with Risk of Rain too.
like Mustache and whatever, those friends were always playing it.
It's kind of like you get stronger the longer you're alive or something. But if once you die, you restart. Or how's it work?
I think it's a roguelike like that. You got one life, and it's based off your decisions. And yeah, for Craft Chest, we spent like the half of the video talking about ArcheAge. And in a nutshell, yet it's like it runs into this problem where the devs keep making bad decisions which impact the game negatively, and it's like
The game where you just build a house, flip it, buy a shitty house, like fix the walls, sell it for profit.
I guess you could probably do that in ArcheAge, right? You could buy properties and build houses and sell it, and Black Desert you could probably do that too. The thing I tried playing Black Desert, I played it, I got to like level 60, and then I just stopped playing it because I went to the bank, and my bank was full or something with money, and I couldn't deposit anymore, but the money I had on me weighed something, and I was always like over encumbered with money. It was just... And then you had to have like, I'm sure there's guides out now. When it first came out, it was just like so fucking confusing. Like, I'm to buy from a certain vendor who has a staff that I want. I had to talk to like 50 other people to get enough reputation or whatever. But I had to like randomly, so I had to go every single town and talk to like every single named NPC in the hopes that it would be the correct NPC I needed for this other NPC to give me a staff. It was just... There's hand-holding and then there's no hand-holding, and then it's like...
Alright, so how are we going to do this podcast? Next time are we going to talk about a certain type of game?
Maybe that would be good. I mean, we'll go all over the place.
Should
But
we
like,
come up with a different name? I named it Gaming Instinct because I just threw something together.
yeah, it's fine. Well, it's like, depends what you want to do.
Alright.
'Cause we talked at length about ArcheAge and DayZ. It depends, maybe if you're people who put stuff into the in the comments or whatever, can ask like what kind of game genre or game we should focus on next time.
I haven't heard
If
from
anybody
Chemo
wants to
Time
hear us
in a long
ramble
time.
about...
He's supposed to have been making a game. The guy from New Zealand. I thing about making games is you don't have to have like really crazy bunch of art and like expensive.
No, you don't.
Like I remember
See a lot-
Dope Wars was a fun game where you just like buy drugs and you advance a day and see if you got caught by the police and see what drugs went up in price and you sell higher ones and see how much money you can make. It's like just a text based.
There's there's a lot of those text-based games, and then there was I watched videos of these people who do like Arma 3 life videos, kind of like what you're talking about, where there's people who role play as cops and other stuff and civilians, and it reminded me kind of like Gary's mods and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just don't. Most of the time, the people who are playing those games are like young kids, and it's like, it's just annoying to deal with.
Yeah, it needs more like structure to it. People aren't just like fucking around for a stream or something.
Half the time, it's just a bunch of people fucking around. Can't really get anybody to do anything like properly, you know. Or it's like a bunch of mods who are admins. That was the biggest issue I think we ran into with was corrupt admins on video games. Like for DayZ, the thing we would run into most of the time on a lot of these servers were like the admins were also the ones who were friends with.
They'd expect
like,
you to read the rules. I ain't got time for that. I'm out here
Yeah,
trying
do
to glitch through tiny cracks in people's door when I get out of my car that I parked 1 inch too close to the fence. I ain't got
that was
time
one
to
of the
read
reasons
the
we got
rules.
So we did really well on a lot of these servers because first off, we didn't listen to their stupid rules. Because then they would have a 9-page document about like all the things you're not allowed to do.
Because we assumed it would be common sense rules, like not no mentioning anti-Jesus stuff or like no curse words.
Yeah,
Don't talk about
really
pee-pees
weird.
and poo-poos.
Yeah, it's like why even have a chat at all if people can't. Like it wasn't even like racist stuff or anything. It was like the guy that owned some of these servers were, we're anti-profanity in a game where you literally just murder each other and take their
Yeah,
stuff.
there's blood spurting out of my neck. Like, don't say shit. It'll hurt some kids' life
Like,
or something.
I guess we could just end it on the note of that was the one part we got banned from the server in like 15 minutes or something. We joined it, and then T2 found a car like right away, some shit vehicle. And we used it to get through the guy's wall, and the dude had just bought from their in-game shop like $50 worth of building supplies. And then we killed him and loaded up all his shit into our truck that we just stole
They're
from
just
somebody
there in
else.
a big pile. Like, this is the supported pack pile.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have some of that. Loaded in the car.
It's loaded in the car, and then there was another. That was on like, was it a deserty map or something, or Panthera or some shit.
I mean, that should be the rule, though. If you bought a bunch of shit, you know it's part of the game now. Like, you can have your shit stolen because it's the type of game you bought to get a bunch of stuff in.
Well, all those people were a bunch of whiny cunts anyway, because I remember right after we killed him, he then goes and whines the admin, and the admin's like comes back and like reimburses him all the stuff after we stole it from him. There were so many of those people.
He's
like
just trying to
remember
make a
when
buck.
we were dealing with Eric and Devin, or for the Evil Clan, and there was the two dudes we'd encountered before that we blew their building up, and they were like, they wanted the admin to refund them their money. I'm like, it's not the admin's fault. You guys suck. You can't like. Because here's the thing too. A lot of these people, they're like, they assume everyone's going to be friendly to them on a PvP server. They get in there
we
like,
paid to win. We need to win. We paid. So
what? If you can't like defend your goods, what good are they? You know. And maybe that's the problem with gaming in general. We just have these fucking people who expect, like, they think just because they pay for something, then they're guaranteed to get like everything they paid for. But that's not how it works in the real world. It like,
yeah, it is kind of.
well, kind of it.
Fucking Donald Trump. To
Well,
be
okay,
president.
but in video games, for the most part, especially something like this, it's like you're gonna have to be able to defend your stuff or get used to having it stolen from you.
Alright. So this has been Gaming Instinct number 1. Tune in next time when who knows what we'll be doing. Maybe we'll talk about Bigfoot again. Maybe we'll talk about
Who
some
knows?
more games.